Hi all, welcome to our first session on the Pivotal Cloud Foundry course. I'm your trainer from Visual Path IT Services. Today, we are going to start with basics of Cloud Foundry. But before that, we must know what virtualization is all about because Cloud Foundry is based upon cloud platform which falls in the platform as a service domain. Now, to understand Cloud Foundry, we all need to know what a virtualized infrastructure looks like and how we can achieve virtualization on our physical IT infrastructure. Let's get started. So, what is virtualization? So, virtualization is the ability by which we can run multiple operating systems on a single physical server that basically helps to share the underlying hardware resources in terms of the compute, storage, and network. So it is the process by which one computer host appears as an VM into different other machines. Like you can consider virtual machine to be a kind of physical server imitating the property of a physical server, but instead running on a virtualized platform using a software which we called as the hypervisor. So in this diagram, you can see how virtualization takes place, where we have a physical box that can be a physical server. And top of that, we can have multiple virtualized software that we called as hypervisors, and it can be different for different platforms. Like for example, for VMware, we use Xen hypervisor. For Linux-based systems, we use KVM. Similarly, we have hypervisor from VMware, etc. This hypervisor basically helps to manipulate and propagate the resources from your physical infrastructure by doing an emulation. That means it's just doing an abstraction of your computer resources in terms of the compute, storage, and network availability and helps to create multiple virtual entities which we called as the VM. So the VM in turn comes with their own guest operating system along with an application that runs on top of it. So why virtualization is needed? Virtualization helps to share resources that in turn lower cost of our infrastructure. It provides isolation. So every virtual machine are isolated from one another and we can run processes independently in, in different virtualization. That means any application that is running in each of the virtual machines remain isolated from one another. Encapsulation. So virtual machines helps to encapsulate a complete computing environment. Hardware dependency. Virtual machines helps to run independently of underlying hardware and that hardware can be of any type. And last but not the least, portability. So with portability, virtual machines can be migrated across different host machines. This often is a requirement when we try to move virtual machines from one data center to another data center. So we understood why we need virtualization, but then how virtualization works actually. So as I already referred you in my previous slide, that the main component that actually carries this task of slicing physical resources into virtual machines is called as the hypervisor or the virtual machine manager monitor. So hypervisor is basically a software program that allows multiple operating systems to share a single hardware host. Each of the operating system appears to have its own host processor, memory, and other resources all to itself. So through hypervisor, we can actually control how much resources we want to allocate for a virtual machine. That is, we can specify a soft limit that, for example, a virtual machine, we can specify we require 2 GB of memory, 4 vCPU core, and then maybe 20 GB of hard disk. So we can always put a soft limit on the virtual machines that are getting created on top of our physical infrastructure. Hypervisor is by default classified into two different types, type 1 hypervisor and the type 2 hypervisor. So type 1 hypervisor is called the bare metal hypervisor that runs directly on top of the hardware resource, while type 2 hypervisor is a kind of a software-based emulator that works on an already installed operating system. The most popular type 2 hypervisor are the Oracle VirtualBox, the VMware Fusion, which we can install in our own system, and we can actually emulate the property of our laptop or desktop wherever we are working and create virtual machine out of the resources that we are having from a local system. While type 1 hypervisors include the hypervisors such as KVM, then which we can directly use to manipulate resources from a physical infrastructure. So this is the overall diagram which I was mentioning, how type 1 and type 2 hypervisor are differentiated. So you can see in type 1 hypervisor, we have the hypervisor layer that directly works on top of our physical IT infrastructure. While on the type 2, what we are doing, we are installing a software kind of emulator, that is a VirtualBox or VMware Workstation on our already installed operating system. And from that, we actually pull up or provide resources to create multiple virtual entities or virtual machines. So let us discuss something on virtual machine. What is exactly a virtual machine? So virtual machine is an isolated guest operating system whose installation is done on a normal host operating system. So from a user perspective, virtual machine is a kind of a software platform like any other physical server that has its own operating system and application running. So whenever we extract or emulate property from our actual infrastructure, we are creating a kind of replica onto our own IT infrastructure. That means that we are basically creating a mirror image of our physical infrastructure resources and emulating it to create a virtual entity that we can directly run on top of our IT infrastructure. Let us discuss about different types of virtualization. So virtualization in general is classified into two types. One is the full virtualization and second is the para-virtualization. Full virtualization is called the direct execution. That means the hypervisor can directly know the underlying physical infrastructure resources and can create call to provide or abstract resources for the virtual entity. There is no other software that is coming in between the interaction process. While in the para-virtualization case, the hardware abstraction layer knows about the virtual machine monitor and the virtual machine monitor interacts with the IT infrastructure. So there is a two-way call that happens from your hardware abstraction layer to the physical hardware via the virtual machine monitor. So full virtualization exposes directly to the hardware. It is efficient in execution because it's communicating directly with your physical infrastructure. OS remains unchanged and requires a virtualizable infrastructure. One of the examples is VMware. While in para-virtualization, OS is modified to execute under the VM. That means that your underlying OS infrastructure needs to be modified to tune to the hypervisor that you are running. It is not the direct access from your hardware abstraction layer, and it requires porting the OS code. Execution overhead is there, and some of the popular infrastructure architecture that supports is x86. Example is Zen. Now let us focus on server virtualization. So server virtualization is a process by which we can create multiple logical server OS entities on one physical piece of hardware. So hypervisor is installed on a physical server, and from there we are splitting or creating multiple instances of the server into different virtual entities. So what is the benefit of having a server virtualization? The benefit basically is that the VMs which are created on one physical host can run in other physical server, provided the underlying infrastructure remains the same. Failure in one physical server will not directly affect the VM running on top of it. So this is, by the way, a very good strategy to create a kind of redundancy for your overall infrastructure. That means there is no direct point of failure. In case a system doesn't able to come up, another virtual instance will take care of the existing processes by running on the separate physical infrastructure. So this, so it is also used when uh, any maintenance mode activity is performed, where you need to switch off certain part of your virtual instance resources, and then you need to power on a separate infrastructure where you can actually migrate your existing virtual machines on top of your physical infrastructure. Now let us go and explore what are the different domains of virtualization. So one of the important domain is the desktop virtualization. So it is basically a software technology that separates the desktop environment and associated software from the physical client device, which basically is used to access the resources. In short, we called this as the virtual desktop infrastructure or VDI. So it is basically a kind of delivery model that allows client desktop workloads to be hosted and directly executed on servers in the data center. That means the client terminal, you can directly host it onto your own virtualized environment and monitor remotely for any changes in the activity. Users can communicate with their virtual desktop through a client device that supports remote protocols such as RDP. So it's like create helping to run multiple virtual desktops by using the well-defined protocol called the RDP. This also allows to virtualize Windows desktop in the data center and deliver them on demand as and when required. So this is an overview of how the desktop virtualization looks like. So you have a physical server that is running multiple virtual machines, and on all of the workstations, you have installed the VDI client. So when you log into the server basically is again connected with the user data and Active Directory that basically authorizes your authentication and helps to get the details of the data from the server end. So this is what happens here. So it is similar, like the properties will be propagated across the Active Directory and through the user data. The end users can directly access the information through their client device. Next, we know about what is storage virtualization. So storage virtualization is the next level of enhancement in the storage that aims to provide a layer of abstraction to reduce complexity. That means in terms of directly accessing physical resources, we'll use certain virtual instance that will schedule the resource requirement from a pool and then allocate it to the virtual instance which it is running. So it is the pooling of physical storage from multiple network storage devices into what appears to be a single storage device that is managed from a central console. So as I was saying, the same thing. So the process involves abstracting and covering the internal functions of a storage device from the host application, host servers, or the general network in order to facilitate the application and network independent management of storage. So you can have multiple array of storage devices. The server virtualization will not differentiate across multiple type of devices because now almost all the respective interface from the storage part are available on the virtualized platform. So using a logical device, it can actually then call how many requests of data needs to be created, and then that will be allocated accordingly and from the logical device that actually maps how many resources are available from the pool and provided it to the back to the client end. So this is so next we study about software virtualization. So software virtualization, it involves the use of software to allow a piece of hardware to run multiple operating system images at the same time. So basically, what this means, it means that through a virtualized platform, you can actually run multiple OS images on top of your host infrastructure, and you can basically take advantage of multiple operating systems, whichever is being supported by your application. So here, there, if the underlying infrastructure covers, say, or supports different type of Linux distros, then you can very well use that particular template of that image and provide as an input reference to the VM that will be spawning up along with the resource requirement. That means how much CPU, how much memory, how much hard disk you require. And through that, once you provide this request to the hypervisor, it goes down and creates your virtual machine. So next is KVM virtualization. So KVM virtualization is one type of virtualization, which is again a type on virtualization that we can directly do on our bare metal service. So let us dig into and understand what it is exactly. So KVM or the kernel-based virtual machine, it is a fully virtualized solution for Linux that can run on Intel 64 and AMD 64 hardware that has been included in the mainline Linux kernel since 2.6.20, and it is far more stable and fast for most of the workloads. So KVM, as the name suggests, can support any workload that runs on any Linux distro and for kernel greater than 2.6.20 version. So KVM is definitely fast compared to any other hypervisors that are available in market today. Why? Because it has certain features. For example, overcommitting. So you can allocate more virtual system or memory than the available resource of the system. Like it means, like if you provision, for example, have 2 GB of memory and you provision 4 GB, keeping in fact that you are overcommitting. So KVM can actually take care of that extra load or stress that comes directly on top of your host operating system by creating a pool of the resource that has been requested for. Based on that, the resource gets released and thus it prevents uh, any kind of issue or basically crack problem onto your system. Thin provisioning. So second feature is the thin provisioning that helps to allocate flexible storage and optimizes the available space for every gauge virtual machine. Third is this input-output throttling. This provides the ability to set a limit on the disk input-output requests that are sent to the virtual machine from the host system. So you can actually limit that how much resources in terms of the CPU consumption is required or in terms of storage components is required. Uh, it will automatically take care of that request and basically put a soft limit on the request that you make for creating a virtual machine. Virtual CPU hardware capabilities, so it provides the ability to increase processing power as needed on running virtual machines without any downtime. To install KVM on CentOS and RECL, it is very easy because almost all the Linux distros support the KVM binary file. So by default, whenever we install any Linux-based system, it comes as a default in the system. So we don't have to install as a binary separately. To check whether system is running, means the KVM virtualization has been enabled or not, we need to check whether a parameter VMS is enabled on a host machines or not. If it is not present, then we need to enable the virtualization extension. So just let us check. I will go to a system and I will try to grep the VMX component in proc CPU info. So as I can see, this VMX component is already installed. That means here it is already uh, uh, created with the operating system when I have installed my operating system. So this is the way by which you can actually make out that KVM is running onto your system. So once virtualization is enabled, KVM can be installed in 5 steps. Either you can directly install using the KMU KVM or the KMU email. Both packages are provided on a user level and on the disk manager level. You can also use the Word Manager to install different library files for virtualization for the Word Package Manager. And also through the group install command, we can install all the client tools at a one go. And then we just need to restart the libvirt daemon. So what we studied in our course, in the topic that we discussed today, the main points that we discussed was basically knowing what is virtualization, how virtualization is possible on physical IT infra resources, what are the different type of virtualization that can happen, what are the different way out through which virtualization can take place, like storage virtualization, desktop virtualization. And then we also went and uh, discussed little bit on the KVM virtualization. So with this, we can conclude on the following points. Here we learned abstraction of computer resources that include reduced operating and capital costs, improve utilization of computing resources, and greater IT staff productivity. Supportability of multiple component products that can run as a case program, on a non-certified virtualization engine. Managing loads on virtualized system can be more than managing the art of science. Faster server provisioning with minimum downtime in the system. So in turn, you can understand that virtualization is very critical for running any cloud platform. In our next class, we will basically know about different type of cloud technologies, and from there on, we will basically start our journey on the introduction of Pivotal Cloud Foundry. Thank you all for attending the session today.